Alright, what is up guys? Josh from Honest Audio back here with a new video today, and today's video is actually going to be a little bit something different. So it's going to be kicking off a new series that I like to call Hype Killers. So we're going to be looking at products that are kind of on that hype train, that not necessarily currently on the hype train, but people tend to hype these kind of products up on places like the Reddit and the HeadFi community. So usually these are cheaper products that people say will compete and even sometimes beat out products that are priced well above these. So yeah, usually we're going to be looking at cheaper products in anything that has this hype killer title in it. And today we're going to start off the series by talking about the SHP9500s. I'm sure you guys have heard of this pair of headphones. It's actually being discontinued, and the price has moved up to around $200, but you can still find these used for around $50 to $60, and that's the price I'm going to review them at because I got them for $60, and I don't really think that I can recommend these at all at a $200 price point. If you have $200, don't even think about spending it on these headphones. They are not worth $200. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to move straight into packaging, and these just came in a plain cardboard box. It was nothing special, just a plain cardboard box with obviously like their marketing on it, and also plastic on the inside that it was fitted into, and just so it would hold still in the box. So it was nothing special. I threw it out, and also the accessories it came with was nothing but just a 3.5 millimeter cable, and I actually threw out that 3.5 millimeter cable as well because it was really janky and not very nice. But I wasn't too concerned about it because regardless of what it came with, I probably would have replaced it with a V-Moda cable anyways, because the V-Moda cables are so nice. I have one right here. This is a V-Moda cable. It's very, very nice. It just flows so well, and it's very good build quality. Nice braided cable. If you have anything that uses 3.5 millimeter, I recommend replacing it with the V-Moda cable. I also have the V-Moda Boom Pro that I use with it, and this is a very nice product as well. It's just as well built as the V-Moda normal 3.5 millimeter cables, except it has a mic on the top that is has a metal adjustment system, and it also is very good if you don't have a standalone mic and you want to use it to talk to people for gaming and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely recommend those two products if you have this pair of headphones. It goes very well with this pair of headphones and anything else that uses a 3.5 millimeter cable. So I'm not going to knock Philips too much on their cable because 3.5 millimeter is very standard and easy to replace, and very cheap to replace as well. So yeah, and it didn't come with a bag or anything like that, so if you want something like that, you're going to have to buy it yourself. Let's move straight on to build quality. The build quality is very good for the price I paid. They do feel a little bit cheap in the hands, even though they use some metal material and pretty nice plastics, but they kind of like rattle a little bit, and it doesn't feel super premium. But for $60, the build quality is very, very good. It does swivel. The ear cups do swivel nice and smooth, and it's very nice for fitting that on your head because it will contour to your head pretty well. And the adjustments they use are metal, and they're also numbered, which is pretty nice if you're OCD like me and you need to have each side match up exactly. I do wish, one thing I'm going to complain about on the build is I wish this adjustment system was a little bit stiffer. The clicks, especially the beginning clicks, don't feel that stiff. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind, but definitely not bad build quality for the price. I do think they're very well built compared to other things in this price point of $60 and under. So comfort is also something that Philips did very good with. The pads are very, very large and fairly deep, not super deep, but deep enough. And the top headband is very well padded as well. It's very soft. So these aren't traditionally uncomfortable in the sense that certain products like the 650s that I have on right now, the 6XX, people complain about the clamp being too tight, And on products like the LCD series, they complain about them being too heavy and the top not being padded well enough, and you get a hot spot on your head. These are not going to be uncomfortable in either of those senses. So where they are going to be uncomfortable, though, is the ear pad material. So if you have a beard like me, this is actually going to get pretty itchy for you, most likely, and it also is going to get very, very hot on your ears. This material doesn't breathe that much, and it will make your face pretty hot. And I don't know, I wish they had just gone with a traditional velour material for the ear pads, but not terrible. Definitely pretty good comfort. I can't complain too much. So the power needed for these is not very much. I believe they're 32 ohms, so they aren't too hard to drive, and you can get them loud on a phone, but I would recommend any low powered amp to get them to their full potential, just to be safe. So yeah, I don't think they're too hard to drive, but a very low powered amp and a clean DAC will do good for these headphones. So moving right along to sound, and this is obviously what matters most for most people. And these are pretty flat / neutral sounding. The treble can get a little bit hot, and the bass does roll off pretty early, which is one of the things I will knock these for, is the bass is not very good. If you listen to bass heavy music, these are not the headphones for you. But all around, I do think the sound is a little bit harsh, and it's not relaxing. These sound pretty aggressive to me, actually. The mids sound a little bit forward, and I don't know, there's definitely a harshness to the sound, so the overall sound. So let's get right into bass. The bass, like I said, is lacking and unexciting. The weakest part of the sound definitely is the bass. At the least, it's fairly tight, and if you were to EQ it up, it probably would sound a little bit nice, but as someone like myself, I don't really like to use EQ, especially something that's this cheap, and the rest of the sound I don't think is worth saving it with EQ for. So yeah, it's not that good, but it's not terrible for the price. I wouldn't recommend these for anyone who wants good bass. So the mid-range is probably actually the best part about the sound. It's pretty good for the price, but there's some grain or etchiness and like that harshness that I was talking to about it. I actually was watching a different reviewer, DMS3TV, I'm sure you guys have heard of him, and he was talking about this grain, and it's something that people who criticize these headphones, it constantly is being brought up, and I definitely heard it. When I first got these headphones, I hadn't seen anyone else's review who reviewed these poorly. And I was like, is mine defective? Like, am I hearing something that other people aren't hearing? What's going on here? Because they definitely sounded very harsh to me. And the grain also, it sounded a little bit, I don't know, it's not smooth sounding like something like the HD600s. And then I watched DMS's video and I was like, I'm not crazy that this is actually something that's going on in these headphones. So yeah, moving on into treble, it does retain that grain and that etchiness in the treble as well. And the treble also can get a little bit hot. I heard some people saying that there's some ringing. I don't necessarily hear any ringing in these headphones, but the treble definitely does get a little bit hot for me. And female vocals, the upper mid-range / lower treble, the S's definitely get sibilant. The S's sometimes in some songs are very, very harsh and kind of ruin the sound for me. So yeah, that's what I think about the treble on these headphones. It's not terrible, but it's definitely a little bit hard and harsh. So I don't know, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, definitely watch out. So soundstage, I would say these are similar to the HD600s or 650s. Not very wide. It's okay. It's probably more like the 650s, so it's a little bit wider than just in your head, but definitely not amazing. It's okay. It's definitely good for the price, but I don't think it's anything that's, oh my goodness, like Argons or anything like that, where the soundstage is just like crazy. So even my P1s, I would say, have more soundstage than these headphones. So the imaging is actually pretty great for the price. Now, I do think if you want to get these, get them for probably the imaging for the price. The imaging isn't great, but it is really good for the price, and and that's why I do recommend these for gaming. That's primarily what I'm going to be recommending these for, not for music, but for gaming, because the soundstage is decent enough, and the imaging is good, and also the boosted treble in these is going to work out well for hearing footsteps and stuff like that. So clarity and transparency, I don't think these are veiled at all like people would call the 650s, but the present grain doesn't make it as smooth or as clear sounding as I would like. So yeah, it's okay for transparency and clarity, but not the best. Okay, moving on to specific genres. Now, this is hard to recommend for any genre. I wouldn't pick these up over any of my other headphones for any specific genre. And that kind of moves on to the story of me getting these. I got these back, I think around 2 years ago almost. And around that time, the only headphones I had was the Sennheiser HD558s. And I picked these up, and after about 2 weeks of listening to them, I never picked them up again until I went to review them about 2 weeks ago. So I have been listening to them again for about 2 weeks, and I haven't really picked them up for any headphone. Like, I went right back to my HD558s when I got these. So, I don't know, I wouldn't really recommend these for any genres. Like I said before, they don't excel in bass, so I really wouldn't recommend them for rap or EDM. You're going to need to do some serious EQing, and especially EDM, because the treble's so hot, you're going to be turning up to get that bass, and then the treble is going to be really, really piercing. So, yeah, I don't think that I would recommend them for those genres. If anything, maybe like jazz or even classical, I probably wouldn't recommend them for, because the soundstage isn't that amazing. So yeah, vocal focus music is kind of a mixed bag. They do have pretty decent vocals, so if you're looking for it for that, they might be good for $60. But again, the grain and the S's kind of ruin it for me. I didn't listen to these, again, like I said, I just have written down here, I didn't listen to these past 2 weeks of owning them. I got them and I was like, oh, that new toy feeling, you want them to be good, but eventually I just went back to my 558s and I didn't, HD558s, and I didn't really look back. So moving on to comparison. So this is kind of where the hype killer thing comes in. People compare these to the 650s and the 6XX, and that is not the case at all. And right now they're actually priced similar to the 6XX at $200, so, which is kind of a joke. The 6XX it uses less metal, but I still feel like these are more solid feeling in the hand, and definitely these are more comfortable for me. If you're sensitive to clamp, the not 558s. The 9500s will definitely be more comfortable if you're sensitive to clamp, but for me, the 6XXs are more comfortable. So as far as sound goes in the comparison between these two, it's not even close. The frequency response is a little bit close. I would say the 6XXs have more mid bass, and the bass roll off is pretty similar, but the overall smoothness to the sound is just leagues apart. It's not even close. The 6XXs sound so much better, and when I was swapping back and forth between the two for comparison's sakes, it was almost like a relief for me to put on the 6XXs each time because of that harshness and that more aggressive sound that I was hearing in the 9500s. It was just like not, even going back to them, it was just not like, it was just hard to listen to, for me at least, because the sound was so harsh sounding and aggressive sounding to me. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that the SHP9500s come even close to the 600 or the 650s. So if you're thinking that, I would look elsewhere. Okay, now another thing to compare them to that's a little bit more fair is the KSC75s. Now these are another budget pair of headphones that I own and that are very hyped up. They're going to be also included in this Hype Killer series, and we're going to be looking at those to see if they live up to the hype. So I don't have them here, actually. They're sent off to Joshua Valor, for review, so you're going to be seeing his review pretty soon, and then I'm going to be sent them back, and I'll probably review them right when I get them back. So the KSC 75s are definitely wider sounding than these, but they do lose some of that good imaging that these do have. I would say these have better imaging, but those have better soundstage. Those are more comfortable. The Cosses are definitely more comfortable, but they're weirder looking because they're this weird clip-on design, and some people might be turned off by that. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind for the Cosses. The SHP9500s are definitely less bright than the Koss KSC75s, I would say, but the Cosses are less harsh and not as aggressive sounding. So even though they're brighter, they're actually easier to listen to for me. But some people say they're a little bit too bright for their taste. You're going to have to decide that for yourself. If you're someone who's sensitive to elevated treble, the Koss KSC 75s are something that might not be for you. I would say the bass response is fairly similar. These probably have a little bit more mid bass, but overall you're not getting either pair of headphones for the bass. So honestly, although these are a little bit more detailed and have slightly better imaging, I would take the Koss KSC 75s every single time. I would, like, for every single type of listening, I would take those over these because of the smoother sound overall, and just the wider sound stage is nice as well. So another thing I'm going to compare them to pretty quickly is the Sennheiser HD558s, which are discontinued, but right now you can still get them for around $80 on Amazon used, and for that price I do think they're very good. And there's also a newer option available. I think it's the HD579s or the 559s. Both of those are probably pretty similar in sound, but they're the newer versions, and those go for around $100. So keep that in mind. I don't have these anymore, like I said, but I did have them at the time of getting the SHP9500s. So I would definitely take those over these as well. They're not as well built, but they're way more comfortable for me, and they have a much smoother sound and a much more musical sound. They're definitely better for overall listening. If you're not using them for gaming, I would definitely take the lower end Sennheiser series over the SHP 9500s. So many letters and numbers, I'm getting them all confused. So who is buying these is the real question. I would say the only person who I would recommend these to is the more serious and less fun oriented gamers. So only if you can get them for a reasonable price, around $50 to $60, maybe $70. So because they do have good imaging and decent enough sound stage, that's really only who I'm recommending these two, because for overall listening to music, I do not like these even a little bit. So they're okay for the price, but if you're going to be listening to mostly music, I would recommend a different pair of headphones to get for if you're going to be using them for mostly music. Let's just say it that way. Mostly music and some gaming, get a different pair of headphones. Mostly gaming, some music, these will do just fine. Okay, so did these live up to the hype? Definitely not. These do not even come close to comparing to the HD600 family, in my opinion. Maybe price to performance, you can argue that these are close, but I think it's worth it to just get something cheaper like the Koss KSC 75s and then save up your money to buy something more expensive like the HD6XX. Even at the price point of $60, I wouldn't even recommend these unless you're going to be doing gaming, like I said. The etchiness to the sound ruins any music listening for me, and all around it was a disappointing headphone considering lower end products available out there like the Kosses, like I was saying before. So don't even think about these headphones at $200, like I said. And this is honestly what I came to at the end of all my listening past these and switching between the 6XXs in these for comparison. These are like the HD650s if you removed everything special about the HD650s. And I mean, how's that for you Philips fanboys? Like, that's something that you can listen to and you probably get mad at, but let me know in the comments down below if you disagree. I'm sure some of you out there definitely disagree, but that's honestly what I came to the conclusion for on these. So to all you who think you have HD 650s because you have the SHPs, I'm sorry, but you don't. That's definitely not a fair comparison, but some people do like to draw that comparison, and that's what this whole series is about, me reining in the hype and letting you know what I think about these products that people are going crazy about. So in all seriousness, these aren't terrible for around $60. I was a little bit hard on them, but they're definitely not for me, and that's really what you're coming here for these reviews, is for my opinion. There are other reviewers out there, and you can go listen to them and see if your taste in music align more with them, but I'm giving you my honest opinion, and they're definitely not for me. For all future Hype Killer reviews, I'm going to be as critical as possible, like I was here, given that most people, like I said, like jerk off these headphones. So I will be reviewing other cheaper headphones that people like to hype up underneath this title, and not all Hype Killer reviews are going to be bad reviews. There's definitely going to be some that I really like and that I bought because of the hype, and I actually did end up liking. So just keep that in mind. Just because it has Hype Killer in the title, I'm not going to be crapping on their day. So yeah, but I still will be honest as always. I'm not going to hold back on things that people love, though. People love these headphones, and I'm sure some of you are going to be mad about this review, but I'm not going to hold back. I did get some negative comments in my Odyssey iSign reviews, and I wish that was labeled Hype Killer, because honestly, I kind of killed the hype for me after listening to them. So yeah, alright guys, as always, I'm just gonna wrap it up here. I'm just kind of rambling on at this point. So as always, let me know if I missed anything in the comments down below, as well as any other questions you may have. And also, if you own these, do you agree/disagree with my review? Let me know your thoughts. I always like to discuss with people in the comments. And if you're thinking of getting a pair of these, check out some other reviewers, because as always, my opinion is not the end all be all. So my hearing is going to be different from your hearing, and I strongly recommend you go listen to some other reviewers. As with when you see other people's reviews, I strongly recommend you go listen to my reviews, and as well as some other not as well-known people, because let's say, like, a lot of people listen to Z reviews and he's really great, but I think that in my experience listening to a lot of different reviewers, it really gets you a kind of average of all the reviews, and it really lets you know an honest, more informed opinion on how headphones actually sound. Because like for these, I crapped all over these, and some people are actually going to really like these, and if you just saw my review, then you're going to be missing out. So yeah, as always, links in the description for anything I may have mentioned, and have a good one, guys.